Hello and welcome to Gwent and to the GwentSlam Monster Faction deck analysis. This is the second video. I did the no round first, and we're just gonna get started here. I already opened up every single one of them. And it's sort of worth noting that Freddy Babes again chose to not have a spy. Overall, we just see how this is played. We see Dagon as the leader because Erdin and Unseen Elder, I like to call him Shirtless Dude, it's just really not as good. And you can get maximum potential with even Foglet out of Dagon. And Dagon has, I suppose, a good synergy with the best Monster Gold. Because Woodland Spirit is an 8 base, plus the Foglet, plus do some fog damage. Plus right now actually has a synergy with the Harpies. I don't know, like even before he was the best Monster Gold. But with the Harpies you are actually guaranteed to get a Harpy with him, which really just puts it like establishes it as the best Monster Gold. And Freddy Babes knows this like a lot. He has Resurrect and Royal Decree. So he wants to play Woodland Spirit ASAP, want to make sure that he plays it and play it again. That's the idea here. And it's very likely that this particular deck will have more units on the board than the opponent. I suppose situationally can be used as a negative as well, but Yennefer can be used as a positive. Most of the time, it's just gonna be pretty damn good. Like, negative is Yennefer is like a 7 base, but gains 2 for every units you have over your opponent. And yeah, you gotta have like a lot more units over your opponent, or just your opponent has under you. Like you can even play a 4 strength Chiron Axe, and if your opponent has a lot of units, you can just punish him big time. I suppose that's an option too if you wanna slow play it. And he actually chose to add in more units in this deck. He went with like 1 spider, Dorigrai as well. And he can spawn 2 spiders. Like he has 1 spider included by default. Also has the monster nest in it. I suppose if he plays the spiders, that's not the end of the world. Because it's not ideal, but like if you have to play these spiders, like you're like not really crushed. Like, okay, that's fine, whatever. But like obviously the idea is here that he's gonna play the spider or spawn a spider and make sure that these spiders run out. That's the idea here. I'm not sure if it's worth it, but he obviously puts a heavy emphasis on consistency deck turning. That is exactly what he saw from his No Realm deck as well. And this version doesn't have the very lockable and vulnerable Neckers, and again the very vulnerable Vrans. Again, Freddy Babes puts a premium on consistency. He doesn't want to deal with, like, you know, you don't want to lose the tournament because Ravid locks your Necker and that's it, and you're out. This deck actually runs better counters to our Griffins. They actually have an extra use. You can just take back your Foglet, you can shut down some single row Vetters, and also they are beasts themselves, so actually count toward the Harpies that come out, so that's handy. And on top of that, he actually has an Echo Warrior. He feels that confident about the Harpies that he's actually willing to like have even more Harpies in his deck, which is a bit nutty if you ask me, but I suppose like it works. And also Roach is a beast as well, so he just really gets at the Harpies. So the idea is like you're just going hard and punish your opponent. Like there's nothing to really say other than that about this deck. Like it is just extremely powerful, and also has some keep in it. Like this is a very strong deck, and also has better counter in it that he actually uses without too much sacrifice because he kind of on beast as well, so that's kind of fine. This particular deck can get a little bit punished with the draws because he doesn't want to have Roach, he doesn't want to have Foglet, he doesn't want to have the Harpies or the Arrakis in his hand. I suppose worst case scenario, having 1 Arrakis is not terrible, but that's really not what you want. Ideally, you want to like make sure you don't have the Arrakis. But he actually upped the bronze stuff to, you know, just to make this a thing. Very strong deck for sure. Katakan, I'm not really sure if this included. Like, he can use Katakan, just eat the Arc Griffins. Like, that is an option. He can also eat something from the enemy graveyard. This is more like a counter to me. And for that, Katakan is very strong. You might just like eat some key units that the opponent wants to resurrect. Also, you can steal key units that your opponent might want to resurrect. But probably graveyard-based strategies. Like, he assumed that graveyard-based strategies are not gonna be a big thing in this tournament. Like, at least that is what I would have assumed. And yeah, Yennefer is included because the monster gold are trash. The biggest, well, like, we can bring up some obvious examples, like Caretaker is a 4, Shani is a 5. That interacts with your own stuff. That is always better. That's like 2+. Plus he gives armor. Plus she gives armor. So, I mean, I just don't see how Caretaker is any good. Like, yeah, Caretaker is like fine. But like, then Shani is like amazing. Like, Caretaker would need to be at least a 7 just to like near Shani level. Because not only he doesn't give armor, which has some value, but also interacting with your enemy's graveyard is less valuable than interacting with your own. Or at very least, it's kind of like the Vicovaro Vedic versus the Priest of Freya. Like, it's about the same. But actually, even when you're running Vicovaro Medics, you want to run like the emissaries, and that's usually what you're resurrecting, because you want to make sure that you are resurrecting something that works with your strategy, not just some random garbage that works with the opponent only. So that's that. Extremely high power deck. With very clear... It can get unlucky with the draws, gotta be said. It can get very unlucky, but it's extremely powerful. I think running the Necrowarrior is a bit greedy, but the thing is, he's gonna play a lot of beasts. Because all these harpies are beasts. The eggs are beasts. So these are 9 beasts by themselves. That makes it 11 beasts, 12 beasts, and that's a beast too. So that's 15 and 18 beasts that are getting played. And yeah, Necrowarrior kind of makes sense with that. It's fucking insane. What a deck. And these guys are actually more powerful than most mulliganing cards, because most mulliganing cards, like Arrakis, perfect example, give you free power. These are cards that you want to have on your mulligan list, not in your hand, and if you trigger them properly, you get like free extra power. But it limits your mulligan, it makes the mulligan more awkward. But these harpies are actually a lot better than that, because they are 4 power, and that 4 versus 3, that's a big one. It's good enough to even include the Necrowarrior. Necrowarrior is 4 strength weaker than the average bronze card. Plus he added more bronze cards to his deck to have the Necrowarrior in it. And yeah, it's still worth it in his opinion. And not like this deck is like is that big just to like counter mill. It doesn't seem to be the case. And he has carryover on top of that, which is always damn scary. So it's a extremely strong deck. Can easily smash people out of the game. Not really sure what's weak to. I also lost decks like this with my mill. And this is just an extremely high power deck. And it doesn't rely on any particular row. It just plays on all rows. It just plays on like a lot of stuff on all the rows. And what you gotta move, like, you gotta move like, I don't know, 7, 8 strength units at most. Or like these are all the rows. Of course you can like Hailstorm it for like, I don't know, 20 something value, which is great, but like it's not as good as like, you know, putting like huge guys on the same row and like hitting them for like 50 Hailstorm value in a long round. So it's really hard to shut down. And extremely strong. And I think it's vulnerable to Golden Weather again. But again, Freddy believed that Golden Weather is not gonna be a thing in this meta, seems like it. Because I suppose I understand that line of thinking, because I brought up that Golden Weather can insanely get out of control, and in 3 turns can give you like easily enough value to justify its inclusion, but and can win games by itself. But if it gets removed right away, and even if it gets removed right away, it's break even. But if your opponent like plays on 2 rows, then it's like, then your opponent gains some value with it. Then like you just like you play, you hit for 4, then he removes it with like clear sky or a silver silver mage. Then your opponent gains some value by doing that. And these players are smart, I suppose. So I think is they just expected that a golden weather will be shut down hard, and that's why I suppose they didn't want to take the risk. And that's why Fred went one step further. That you said like these guys are not gonna run golden weather. I'm just gonna outvalue them. So yeah, I expect to see similar-ish decks, but we shall see. So Game King's version has 26 cards in it. He actually has less harpies. Oh, he's running the Knackers. So this is the different version that we actually see in the letter. This is easier to shut down by the Noram Radovid. Locks are not really prevalent in this meta. But other than Radovid, who's like a complete menace. But yeah, against Radovid this is extremely risky. Especially with the popularity of Radovid. You can just lock the Necker plus the Vran. It is damn risky. Other than that, there's not much to say. He actually has the Karen in it just to like make the Neckers a little bit stronger. Because this is all for the Neckers. He doesn't have any spider generation in it. Karen is definitely not a good card, a great card. It's at most a 16 that also triggers a consume synergy. So I'm not a huge fan of it. Also has Caretaker in it, as discussed, is basically a worse shiny. A much worse shiny. Possibly you can take away a key card from there. It can work somewhat like a Katakan. For example, you take out the Stennis. But like Stennis is not as good for you. You might just get like something stupid like a Harpy. So I suppose like it's like Graveyard Disruption, but I'm just like it's not on the shiny power level by any means. Anyhow, and Resurrect again. I'm kind of Renew. I'm kind of like I was kind of surprised to see Renew pop up many times. It definitely saw some popularity on the ladder, but not to an extent that we actually saw in this tournament. So this version is just more greedy, basically, right? Red Base's version is like extremely high value, but Game King's version can be extremely greedy. He has 2 Ekimaras in it. It's like a 26. You also have Vedic Hunters. So yeah, Katakan as well, just to shut down stuff. Jotun, just to set up the Hailstorm. And Olgierd that works well with the Toad Prince. He did choose to have a Frightener, which also can work with well with the Toad Prince. So maybe that is why. But like spies are actually usually considered not to include before this tournament. But looks like Freddy did just fine without them. And if you consume a lot of stuff, then the Knackers are gonna get ridiculous. And that's usually why it's just extremely dangerous. You want to make sure that that doesn't really happen. Of course, his Ekimaras can get locked as well, so... I suppose he gives a lot of targets that can be locked, but... It might be better to not give that many. I guess Freddy Base can be shut down as well, but it's not as bad if your Ekimara gets locked down. It's like fine, his resilience is gone, but you still got value from the egg. It's not too bad, but if your Necker gets locked down and you don't get out the extra Neckers, now that's soul crushing. That it could be game right there. So I suppose this is like higher value but easier to shut down. Definitely a very ballsy one with all the Radovids around. So not much to say about it. Higher risk. Also, I do like Freddy Babes' gold inclusion, because he just says like, hey, monster gold suck, I'm just gonna go Yennefer and Woodland Spirit. Everything else, go to hell. So, Game King, good tag. But I'm not entirely sold on this one. It's just greedy. It's a greedy deck that, if not get punished, probably is gonna beat Freddy. But if gets punished, like, Freddy just has so many ways to gain power. Like, Commander's Horn. Like, he's just, like, goes for the massive shots here. Like, 20 points, 20 points. Like, with the Monster Nest, you can get a Spider just to, like, trigger these Aracas. Or just, like, go for a Drowner. Or whatever. You have a lot of options here. And, yeah, that's what Freddy's going for. Game King's going for the, like, massive keep, massive carryover with the Neckers. Because if you have, like, a Necker carried over, then you're gonna eat it last round. That's just extremely hard to beat. And, yeah. It's definitely a good deck. It has more keep in it. It's possibly, like, this is about, like, flat value. He's just like, hey, I'm getting 20. Hey, I'm getting 20. And Game King is about generating value. And as long as he doesn't get shut down, then the long is gonna be round. The round is gonna be long, and his brands are not getting moved away or locked, or just other stuff not getting locked. Again, more stuff can go wrong with this deck, and there's not much you can do about it. If stuff goes wrong, you're just like, hey. Okay, let's see what Shaggy has. Shaggy, by looks of it, running something very similar to Freddy. He does have one less Akimara. It's a bit... Oh, and he actually has a shit ton of Drowners in it. So Freddy didn't care about the Drowners. He didn't run Drowners at all. He actually has the Spiders in it. But Shaggy decided that he's gonna have all the Drowners in it, just for the movement. Again, you can use that to actually just gain extra value from your Vetter. And gain extra value from the Marigold Hellstorm. Something Freddy actually chose not to have. And Game King chose to have, but had no ways to set it up other than Jotun. Which is, I guess it's a pretty good way to set it up, but still. I guess usually that's an excellent way to set it up. But Shaggy, and it's some kind of like a Freddy Babes, like I really shouldn't call it Freddy Babes deck by any means, because it's been around for a long time. And interesting that they all went for like Argriffins. Again, Resurrect, Gals, like Gals instead of Royal Decree. Gals is less likely to be dead. I suppose it gives you less value as well. Because you just Gals out Woodland Spirit. You're actually gonna get less value because Gals is only a 1. But Gals can also draw into Silvers. Whatever that is worth. Also, Shaggy seemed to prefer this Lacerate. And I can't disagree with that one. I guess you can get good value from Lacerate in this meta. So... And again, like, you can just get 11 value from the Drowners, as long as you get the Vetter up, or you want to get Hailstorm value. And he also chose to go for the Frightener. Something that apparently Freddy completely ignored. Like, I don't need spies, boys. I got this. Very particular. He also like chose not to have the Spiders, which is a bit pushing it for Freddy. That's gotta be said. Again, I kind of like Shaggy's list, just personal preference. That's what I would like to play. Freddy's list is like, hey, you gotta put like these on the Mulligan list, Roach on the Mulligan list, the Spiders on the Mulligan list. Am I missing something? And the Foglet. So that's 8 cards in a 27 card deck. In one game, imagine just starting with all 8 cards. It could happen. It will happen. And that would have been GG for Freddy. Right away. Of course, it's unlikely, but he can still get pretty damn screwed. Like, he can easily end up starting with like 5 of them or 6 of them. And that's still probably GG. So, yeah. Shaggy wasn't that greedy. He only had 3, 4 on his mulligan list, 5. I think 5 is the ideal number. I guess if you want to high roll the tournament and just like, hey, I'm feeling lucky, then I guess you gotta go with this approach. I don't know. I just like, I have terrible luck with RNG. I like Shaggy's list. I like the Drowners in it. And I'm not really sure about the Morwood. It's just interesting to see what kind of options they considered. Because, like, Freddy actually loves these huge cards. Monster Nest, I love that. Becker's and Commander's Horn. Like, does it really worth running, like, 2 spiders? Like, 2 possible spiders just to have these Arrakis out? Maybe with the Akimara? I think it's a bit pushing it. But I guess you really want to go for consistency, because when it comes down to it, we have like 7 deck thinning. Actually, that just puts on top of that, but that doesn't matter because it's gonna be at the end. 8, 9. It doesn't have too much deck thinning in it, frankly. Those are the deck thinning, and that actually thins the deck as well. And Shaggy actually just went for a more conservative approach with Gals. Because you might, with Gals you actually get 2 options. You might want the gold that's coming up, or you might want the silver that's coming up. Like Freddy just said like, hey, Caretaker is kind of shit, like yeah, it's like a war shiny, like whatever, I'm not gonna play it. Also like can be something that disrupts the enemy. So I suppose it's good for that, but it's really not as amazing. It's still one of the better monster golds, but and you can resurrect it, but it's usually not something that you can actually use early on. So it wouldn't be amazingly good with Renew. I suppose you really want to use Renew, but you might actually get screwed, because you might have like both of these in the deck and you just want a Gals, and you get Caretaker, and you might just be forced to play a Hailstorm. And like, damn it. Gals has a card that actually lost popularity quite a bit, because Gals is basically a 1+ player silver, which is lame, or 1+ player gold, which is, I suppose, a 1 better than playing a gold, but you're actually using up an entire gold for that, and it's always nice just to like hoard some golds in your hand for the last round. And I suppose Renew completely matches the best gold you got, which is obviously and always Woodland Spirits. So I do like this deck quite a bit. Freddy Babe's feeling lucky, like a lot, and Game King is like, yeah, he's just, I think he's a bit greedy. Like Freddy definitely, like, this is an extremely strong deck. Like I like the options we got here, like Swapperoni. The back with Twisted Mirror is still a bit of a risky move, because I suppose you're gonna run into mirror matchups like a lot, and there are gonna be a lot of 1s on the board, and yeah, we still have this option for Shaggy. Game King chose to not have it. And the Commander's Sword, again, like, that's just a really good card. And Monster Nest is just extremely flexible. I like it. Morwood, I'm not really sold on the Morwood in Shaggy's list. Because, for example, if it, like, Shaggy went up against himself, then what would you Morwood here? Like, maybe the Akimara? You can Morwood the Akimara for it would be like an 11 plus down shot, then a keep, I suppose. Or you can Morwood a Necker. Yeah, that would be extremely strong. Like if he went up against Game King, again, Morwood can find value there. So it's just like a very specific option, but against some decks, I suppose it would struggle to find value. Anyway, good deck. I'm not really sold on Gals. I used to run him as a 2, and I suppose as a 2 it was like somewhat justified, because you're not only playing the top gold and silver, but also it puts the other one at the top, and that might be a plus or a minus depending on the scenario, but it's usually a plus. Like, it just guarantees that the next draw is going to be better. Maybe I would like Gals better if he just like played the top gold or silver and didn't put the other one at the top, because sometimes you just play it last round and you just that putting the other one on the top just doesn't matter. And maybe just give him like 3 strength. That would be that would make him more popular, more generally useful, in my opinion. But I suppose it makes it's more unique this way. I don't know. I personally am not a huge fan of it. And the monster melee man. Again, he's going for the Necker strategy with all these Radovids around. So again, super ballsy move. It seems pretty similar to Game King's list. It's harder to make out because like everything is on the same bloody row. But it seems basically the same. Wallace or Griffin. It's only at 25. And this is a 26. That basically seems like the main difference. Karen. What? What? Oh yeah. Melee Man's list actually doesn't feature a renew. It just goes with the Gals, Caretaker, Karen. A pretty solid one. Again, he chose to go for more wood. And he only has 1 Iron Griffin in it. Game King went for 2. It kind of helps with the stealing by the Foglet thing. And Toad Prince is always fine just to eat the Frightener or just eat something else that just like kind of didn't work out. And Dorograi is just a flexible option. I like seeing him included in the deck. But he actually didn't choose to go for Jotun. He has no way to set up the Hailstorm. He just relies on the opponent. Well, other than Dorograi maybe. He just relies on the opponent to maybe just like... He's just gonna take the best the opponent gives him, basically. I really shouldn't say that the opponent's gonna mess up, because that's not a plan. Again, these decks are somewhat similar, and I think it's a bit risky to run it in the Radovid meta. I'm not a huge fan, because you got like, this can get locked brutally. This can get locked, this can get locked. Like, a lot can get locked here. And in North Realm, like, many of the North Realm decks work, like, completely immune to locks, so... And this deck is, somewhat immune to locks as well, other than the Akimara. Can be locked for okay value. Not particularly great, so... I suppose that's the best value you're gonna get. But it's not quite like locking a Necker, which is, brutal. Anyway, Panda's monsters... I'm going by, like, some order, yeah. Yeah. So we checked out all the top guys now. We're gonna check out the quarter finalists. And he went for the greedy approach as well. Another greedy deck with the Neckers, the Vrans, the Akimaras. A very similar list, but this time with Renew instead of Gals. But no way to guarantee that you can play Woodland Spirit early. And you're probably not gonna play Caretaker early or Karen early. But I suppose you can eat Woodland Spirit. And that way you can guarantee that you can resurrect Woodland Spirit, so that's fine. Okay. And Katakan, just as a way to like shut down stuff, so I guess works. This is a decent list. I like seeing the Abaya in it. He was again more concerned about weather. And that's what we're seeing from the quarterfinalists mainly. That the quarterfinalists feared weather a lot more. Melee Man feared weather a lot more. And Shaggy didn't. Melee Man feared weather a lot more. But Shaggy, Game King, and Freddy, they were not afraid of weather whatsoever. And yeah, looks decent. He again doesn't have any options to set up the Hailstorm. No Jotun, no Avalok here. Not Avalok, Geraldard. And I suppose decent list. Not too crazy about it, especially with all these Radovids around. This is really good if it gets out of control. And you don't have to actually lock the Necker. You can actually just lock 2 Vrans, that's good too. That's gonna massively make the Neckers weaker, because they're gonna consume like 1, then you're gonna lock them, then maybe he's gonna get out like 1 Ekimara. After that, we're just gonna get like 5 strength Neckers. Anyhow, okay list. I think it's more influenced by the meta. Maybe not heavily expecting red of it. Because locks are not a thing except for red of it. Like, it's really not. Like, you might see like a more wood tech choice here and there. But other than that, lockers are not really a thing. Let's see what Swim is doing. Swim actually had a more conservative list with drowners in it, and somewhat like Shaggy. He didn't care about the Neckers and the Vrans. Again, those can be easier to disrupt. We see again that like this is what you see like cut. Like you either see like Caretaker, Gals. You see, like, maybe those are the ones that get included. Karen is included in the consume a lot deck, but it's definitely not good to include in a regular deck. And Swim did decide that yeah, I spam a lot of units, and Yennefer is gonna be fine. And I think I agree with that. I think Gals is an okay way to get stuff out. And I'm not sure about Iris. This deck is a lot more techy. Mardrum, Iris. Because you may throw away Iris, but how do you gonna kill it? Like, you don't have a lot of ways to kill it. Do you really gonna kill it with the fog? Probably not. You might kill it with the Drowner into the fog, but your fog might be removed. So you might need to rely on double Drowner. But if this Iris gets buffed up, you just gave them a free, and that was horrendous play. It's a bit harder to make it work. Of course, you can Mordrum it too. Actually, that would work. So, I suppose more Monster Nest and Scorch. More tech choices. Decent deck. Definitely not as greedy as Freddy Babes' list. And again, more prepared against Weather. A lot more. That's what we see from the quarter finalists. They were a lot more prepared for weather, but it was a sunny day. Same greedy list we saw earlier. Again, this is something that I don't have the stats on. What is the best? I suppose it doesn't, like, it would be like, yeah, can be argued like what is the best here. Instead of like saying that how high the re-rate of this deck is, like, I could just say like this deck is like worse than the other one, or this deck is better than the other one. I just say like what this deck is weak to. This is a greedier deck than the deck that doesn't run Neckers and Vrans. This is a greedier deck. You just generate more value, but it's more susceptible to shutdown. This deck is very susceptible to bad draws and like getting bricked because you just draw into like 8 useless cards, but probably that's not gonna happen, but still, it could happen. Shaggy's list is more conservative. Like, he doesn't wanna get shot down by locks that hard, but he does have the keys because that's still good, and he just wants to move stuff around just to get some extra value, and the Hailstorm is always amazing. And he wants to get some value. So also it's a more conservative list. Like, it's not gonna go like as mental as Freddy Babes' list or Game King's list, but like he's harder to shut down, and he's also can set up some crazy Hailstorms. However, not more so than Game King, who actually has 1 unit that can do the job of 3 Drowners, but Drowners can actually just like really hammer in if you have a fog. And Melee Van, again, just more prepared against weather and more wood. And like, I didn't like this so much here because Hailstorm without any setup, like, I suppose that's still good, but like, without any setup, I think you could have went for a better card, frankly, in my opinion. So this deck kind of makes less sense to me. Again, we see that it's more weather counters. And let's just go to Edzikov list. Kind of the same thing. We just see the greedy options here. And he actually went for a Necker Warrior. Just to have more Harpies, I suppose. More Neckers? Neckers wouldn't be too bad because you just get... Neckers just get super strong. Again, this is a pretty greedy list, considering that also you actually have 2 Vrans in it only, and 2 Ekimaras. And you're also running the Harpies. Of course, you should be running the Harpies, but he's actually running 3 Harpies. And it's only a 25 card deck. And like the Necker Warrior, like... For this deck, if you know, for example, like this is what you gotta especially pay attention for in a tournament, not like I would know. I'm not really a diehard tournament player, but like once they know your deck list, they know that you have 2 Vrans. So if you play your 2 Vrans and for example, like it gets locked, like all your Neckers that you put in your deck is like crap, actually garbage. So it's really not worth it. And what we do see is that every single player, from what I can tell, like I'm 1% certain, but I'm just gonna show anyway. Every single player played Dagon. Maybe not Tides. Yeah, Tides played Dagon as well. I didn't see that match. But every single player plays Dagon because the shirtless dude and Eredin kind of sucks. I'm sorry, but those kind of suck. Eredin could be good if the Wild Hunt units were in complete garbage, but I don't know. Make him better, and maybe like Eredin will get better. Like Eredin is like strongly tied to the strength of the Wild Hunt units. And they're complete garbage. And they're gonna just good overall. And who wants to, like, yeah, like, I don't get Unseen Elder too much right now. Like, it just doesn't do much. Like basically, like, Vran kind of does more in like a time fashion, I suppose. Like, it just like, I don't know. Unseen Elder, baby. You're just not good enough. And Myrta Braki Scorch, like that's an interesting option. I would have rather seen a Jotun Hailstorm like in this meta. That actually makes more sense. From Edzikov. Interesting that Edzikov went for it. The thing is, like once you play Myrta Braki, the opponent is like, if the opponent has any way to disrupt your double Scorch, because that's what you're kind of going for. You're kind of going for the double Scorch. Your opponent, if he has any way to do it, they will do it. And you're gonna be pretty damn sad when that happens, because you just played a 12-point server that kind of did nothing. Again, that's like 2 point below the average. Again, just a lot of value generation for the Neckers. That can be shut down. Like, this deck could be better if, like, Reddit wasn't so popular, in my opinion. It's a good deck, but I'm kind of surprised that we saw so many players use it. And Tides of Time actually went for a completely different deck. It was just like, this is like a previous meta deck with Earth Elemental. From what I know, I'm not really sure that he prepared as much for the tourney as others. Apparently he got freed by Shaggy. I didn't see the matchup. But like this is like a previous meta deck with Earth Elementals. I guess that's fair enough, but I think if you're running that, why not just run the Ekimaras, you know? You can have more keep, more power. He's like kind of overkill with the Argriffs, but not care too much about the Griffs. I mean the Harpies. And Trisbot. Problem with Trisbot is that, well, she can die. And thing is, like, her buffing can be easily disrupted, even by you. Because she always buffs the lowest. And maybe the opponent will throw you a spy and you just buffing, like, you were like buffing everybody and now you got an Ekimara, you just got an emissary on your side. And that's the one that's gonna get buffed. Or maybe the Tris Butterfly gets sniped because 6 power is nothing. So it's risky to run. I don't know. Okay, let's go back to Freddy Babes' list. Well, I just like the pure greediness of it. Like, hey, there won't be better, and I'm just gonna go for the most greediest deck possible. And if you don't get a terrible draw, like, this is hard to shut down. And just like the power level is just like through the roof. I suppose you don't even have to make sure that, like, you can even like end up with some harpies in the hand. That's fine early on. Like, that just like an insane tempo you can get early with like Royal Decree, Woodland Spirit into Harpy. That's just like, wow! Are you kidding me? And that really hammered in with some keep and whatever, like even more of the same. Game Kings is a bit greedy. Melee Man is I'm not so sure. It's good. Like, it's kind of like the more of the same of the what Game King went for, but like less way to set up the Hailstorm, and more about just making sure he has the golds instead of like replaying the valuable golds. So that, yeah. In this list, actually, Renew is I don't like Renew. I actually like Melee Man's option because, like, you're not gonna play the Caretaker early. You're not gonna play the Caton early, most likely, and you might not find the Woodland Spirit. So in this list, you can easily end up with a dead Renew. And Freddy actually made sure that his Renew is not gonna be dead. Well, I tried to make sure that his Renew is not gonna be dead with the Royal Decree, which actually makes more sense than Gals that Game King actually doesn't have. In a way, this list was better than Melee Man's because he actually made sure that he actually has a setup for Hailstorm, so that's good. He didn't have Morwood. He had also Katakan. They are both like greedy decks, just trying to get a lot of value here. Pretty similar. Melee Man about like more better counter, more consistency. Game King is about more power and then a stronger Hailstorm possibility. Overall, I'm not a huge fan of either. And Freddy Babes is just like, holy shit, baby, you can't shut me down, and I'm fucking super strong. Like, that's basically what this deck is. And Shaggy's like more it's like a safer approach. Again, you can shut up the, set up the Hailstorm with the Drowners that can double up as a way to like really hammer in the Woodland value with the Fog. Thing is, like, Gals can draw into like Caretaker and Renew. That could be like so useless. So if you have Caretaker or Gals or Renew in hand early on, that's probably not gonna be a extremely strong play. This deck could really struggle to be like win round 1 with like Renew and Caretaker. Quite opposite of Freddy's. This deck is maybe like too conservative for its own good. So yeah, I suppose at the end the man with the biggest gun wins. Even if he's reckless, and that was Freddy. Anyway, I guess this is gonna be the monster list. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and see you next time.